Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining for another amazing session of AppLab community and the Harmony OS Student Club, where we're going to talk about technical writing. I'm Kamal. I'll be walking you through this entire session. So this is not going to be like the usual session where I talk about a technology or I endorse about it, talk about any tool, nothing. It's a very generic topic, a very interesting field, and a lot of them really don't know, but they're still doing a job of a technical writing on a day-to-day basis, and they still not aware that they are really doing a multitask basically. So today I'm going to tell you what exactly this technical writing is all about with my experience, and I'll keep it as an open discussion. So if you have already done and would you like to share something, you're welcome to do that, or you have any suggestions or any improvement or your experience, you're free to share it as well. All right. Yeah, so moving on. So technical writing has been around for a few centuries. So as I told you, whenever I start with any of the technology, I try to get into the history of it, find out when exactly did it start. Is it something around few years or is it like century? It looks like technical writing has been around for a few centuries. It's that one field kind of demands a specific set of skills for technical communicators. Technical writing doesn't mean you're just writing something, pasting, and you're giving it to someone. No, it's all about communicating with whom, whether a developer or a client or to the general audience. So throughout the centuries, technical writers served as a mediator between people who created this technology and people who use that technology. So we will see where does exactly this technical writing come from and how old it is in the next slide. If you actually see, the technical writing seems to be one of the highly demanded skill in the professional workplace. Because when you join a company or when you work on a particular open source, the first thing that you read or see is the documentation. If you look at any of the open source projects on GitHub, the first phase is the README. So README is a perfect example of a technical document, but in a different aspect. So demands are expected to grow at 20% by 2024. So this is faster than the average of all other fields. So for some reason, there is only a relatively small number of people who are interested in both technology and the language. So if you're one of them who's interested in both writing and very descriptive or very narrative in expressing something, and you're good at technology also, then definitely you should consider having a glimpse of this technical writing, what exactly it is. So technical writing can be a great profession or means of generating a side income. People do that as a freelancer, right? So it all started with the antiquity. The earliest example of technical writing belongs to Aristotle, way back in 300 BC. So archaeologists managed to retrieve short examples of this technical writing, including a dictionary of philosophic term and the summary of the doctrines of Pythagoras. So that's how it really started with technical writing, but not an official kind of a thing. But that's how the summary, the documentation, dictionary, those kind of short examples really started. So it's been considered that Aristotle's work was the earliest form of technical writing. Sounds interesting, right? Because we all see is the GitHub documents or your PDF documents or Word document, but it started way back. And the first example, the literal example of a technical document was published in English and was created by Geoffrey. And it was a scientific treatise on the astrolabe. If you ask me, what is this device? So they used to document using this device. Now, this device was kind of measuring the distance of stars, planets, and other celestial bodies, and for calculating the position of the ship. That work brought him fame during his lifetime as an author, philosopher, and an astronomer, Geoffrey. So that's how really the technical documents started publishing, and that was somewhere around 1300. So this was the first example. So now if you're really into technical writing, it was not just from 1990s or 80s. It was way back from 300 BC, and then in 1343 was the first English published document. So today, technical writing encompasses, like if you can see, all kinds of document. Now, why do I really need a technical writing? What am I trying to do here? All you're doing is just one thing, that is breaking down the complex technical process and documenting it. Now, when you're documenting it, you'll have various formats, whether you want to include it as a report or executive summary statement, briefs, or any technical information is conveyed in writing at work. It is by either definition or technical writing. So initially, we used to have this long bound to lengthy user manuals. You remember those days, we used to have this Bible of manuals. But these days, no, things have completely changing, right? Now, tell me on a day-to-day, if you are a developer where you haven't documented anything. If you're starting a project, you have to document. If you are working on a project for a very long time, you'll have to go into knowledge base, you'll have to create one. If you're working on a new project, there would be someone giving you some API documents. And any releases or something, you'll have to do it. If you're working on the GitHub open source part, you have a README file, you have the Wiki Pages. So everywhere document plays an important role. And who does this all? Technical writer. We're just not giving a proper definition or a designation to it, but internally we are also doing a technical writer job. But there are few people take it in a various formats, whether it could be test cases, unit test cases, you want to write a report on it, analysis you want to do, that is also a part of technical writing. So the format is no longer bound to a lengthy user manuals, like technical information must be distilled, presented unambiguously. That is what our job is, right? As a technical writer, we want to break the complex part and break it into a simple format or a simple way of defining it so that the user understands it and makes use of it. So this can come in the form of technical reports, emails, policies, brief, press releases, anything. So the bottom line is, if you work in a technical field, you are mostly likely to be performing technical writing actually. So if I have to go a little more in depth, okay, Kamal, I understood what is technical writing, but what are more details about it? So technical writing is like this discipline that is sometimes defined as simplifying the complex, which I've already informed you. It involves communicating complex problems to those who needed to accomplish some task or goals. Because it's not that you write a document and you're using it. No, there is someone else going to read this document after you. You have to pass on the analysis, whether you're a business analyst or something like that. You have a proposal, you need to write a document, write all the flowcharts, all. So that's another way of documenting and being a part of a technical writer. It's often result in relevant, useful, accurate information geared up to specifically targeted audience, because sometimes you'll be working with clients, sometimes developer, and also set these actions apart for the audience to pursue that defined goal, right? So it's not reserved solely for writing manuals. Do not assume that, okay, technical writing is only as a manual that you have to use. They just write, publish it, done. No, it's more than that. So, there's a slight difference between technical writing and a business writing. People kind of overlap things here. So business writing is more on a broader category. It is still, again, an arguable topic where they say that technical writing falls under business writing. So to deal with many of the same topics in the document, actually, it kind of deals with it, yeah? But there is a very slight difference between both of them. So the process of the outcomes of the technical writing are unique. And we will also see how different it is in the upcoming slides. So again, if I have to say technical writing, there's so many definitions given by, all these definitions are not mine. They are being given by the technical writers itself. So some say simplifying the complex problems, some say is inherent in such a concise and is deceptive, simple definition is a whole range of skills and characteristics that kind of addresses every field of human endeavor at some level. So the significant subset of the broader field of a technical communication. Technical writing involves communicating complex problem to those who need to accomplish some task. At the end of the day, it's a task, you're communicating and you're delivering it so that you achieve a particular goal. Okay, so Kamal, I know what is a technical writing. Now, what skills do I really need in order to polish it? So definitely there are a couple of skills that you need to follow. It's not any language as such. It's purely a grammar, English, few of technical, and some rules to be followed, some principles to be followed. So I would suggest that if you're getting too much into technical writing, try understanding or have a clear understanding and knowledge of the product. If you really want to write a technical writing, have in-depth knowledge of your product's industry, what it is, in and out of it. So only when you know this, you will be able to draft something, keeping the history in mind, keeping why you actually doing this, why you kind of deriving to the solution, why should people use this product. You would be in a better position to answer it, narrate it, write it, put it down into a document. And mastering the mode of communication, knowledge of technical writing software tools. There are certain tools which I'll also cover. So use these tools effectively, understand why you're writing this document, and you would be good to go. But definitely always there'll be a lot of things to be added to the bucket, like critical thinking. Because someone says, okay, it's good, you don't start writing a document about it, right? You will have to experience it. Say, for example, if it's a new technology, you have to you build an application, you see how it is working, you find what are the bugs involved in it. Okay, to fix this bug, I'll have to do this. So only when you do that kind of phenomenon, you will really understand, okay, now it's good to write with this kind of document for me, so that someone who's in the very beginning stage, it will be really helpful for them to understand. Detailed oriented technical skills, so that you put all the code snippets, you know where to add screenshots or screencast, where to add references. So those kind of things. Definitely writing skills will be one of the major feature, where as a technical writer, when you're trying to be more narrative, adding a little of humor to it, kind of comparing with a lot of other things and putting the technical things in between, that's when people will really grasp things, rather than you type up monotonously talking about a technical term. It's not going to go. So break down complex solutions. Do not first itself target a problem and tell, okay, you know what, this is the problem, this is the solution, conclusion. No, try to break it down, because you have to think from your reader's shoe. Because the person who's reading your article or reading your document does not have to be at your same level, right? So get down to their level, break it down, and you have to describe it. Ethical and legal considerations. Always, when you're copywriting any images, when you're using someone's content, always understand it's very important to seek permission, take permissions, and then use them, or kind of add them in the tag saying, okay, I've been used references from these, I've referred from these articles and I've used them. So that you don't get yourself into copyright issues or liabilities or any kind of contract. Do not use images from someone has been copyrighted it. And there is also something called as document development lifecycle. Now, any app you build or any software you have, you always have this life cycle, right? So even a technical writer has this document development lifecycle. So first is identifying your audience, who your audience is. So if it is developers, this is how I'm going to write. If it is a general public, okay, I'll have salespeople, I'll have business analysts, I'll have project managers. So how am I going to target my article or my document so that everybody knows about it? So that's also an art, right? Analyze the information. Okay, you have information, try analyzing it and then break it down and then start writing it. Architectures, information architecture, prepare documents, kind of have versions before you release a major version. Technical and editor reviews. You always need to get this reviewed by other technical experts, because they'll always have something or other thing that might save you at the end moment, where they might add few technical aspects saying, okay, you could explain this a little more far better. This code is kind of not necessary. It's kind of redundant here, so you can remove it. So once you consider these kind of basic structure or baseline, then you would be good to go to publish. You would be a bit confident to do that. So consider these aspects if you are in the journey of doing technical writing or you're planning to do one. Okay, so I have seen what is technical writing. I know what are the kind of skills that I need to have. But what are the different types of technical writing? All I see is GitHub document. but definitely there are so many documents. When you come to the corporate world, you'll have so many. You'll have abstracts. Whenever you kind of submitting papers for any talks, they'll tell you, can you please submit an abstract? That is also a way of writing technical aspects, where I'm going to give a talk about a particular technology. I'm going to tell, okay, this is my abstract, this is what I'm going to talk, but you'll not tell everything about a talk in that. The person who reads this will understand, okay, this person is going to give me a talk on this and he's going to cover these topics. Okay, good to go. Blogs. Blogs can be more descriptive, letters, memos, proposals, online help, FAQs. FAQ is also an art of technical writing. Manuals, reports, analysis of reports, scientific specification, technical article, web pages, all are one or other forms of documents or technical writing types. So there are certain things they kind of categorize, like traditional end user documents, technical marketing content, where you have some kind of press release, catalogs. So each type of writing is kind of narrowed down with subcategories for a purpose of providing some simplified instructions for the user. At the end, all it is to break down the complex problem into a simple one and deliver it so that you communicate to the targeted audience. So they also say that while traditional technical writing, not the current one, the traditional technical writing sounds broad, piece of content within this category was specifically written for professional audience. But these days, it's not that case. You have diverse audience reading things. And if you kind of submitting a paper to any of the biggest magazines like IEEE or any other patent, you cannot take the same way as you write blogs or technical articles. They'll have an entirely different format, very crisp to the point that you'll have to do it. Say you have a proposal, you have a patent, and you want to publish it in one of the magazines, or you doing your higher studies or anything, you want to write a thesis, that will be entirely a different way of writing your technical document. Right? So there are different ways. Understand who your audience are and then write it. So being able to explain characteristics of a technical writing is very important. Like the techniques, what am I supposed to do? What are the things that I have to consider? Because the industry is all about explaining topic to others, right? Right now you see me, I'm also explaining something to you. This is also one kind of documentation for me. So keeping these technical writing attributes in mind, we will see how we can make our writing coherent and kind of consistent. That is also another key important factor that we'll also have to consider. So they say that be clear, logical, audience, know who your audience is. Content has to be to the point. Sometimes the title will be entirely different. The content might be completely diverting towards something else. Actively engaging with the audience. Layouts. Have a proper layout. Okay, I'm going to first talk about a brief introduction as to why am I writing this article. Then start with the content, the major focus of the topic, and then give some examples. See if you can bring some technical examples, if you have some snippets or something, then bring some analysis, tag people who actually brought that analysis. And also then you can give some references from where you kind of fetched it, in case people want to read more about a particular topic that you have mentioned in your article or your references. You want to do that, refer that, add references at the end, conclusion, what you're trying to conclude by doing this article or a document. And is there any, after that, just don't say conclusion. For future scope of this particular article or a document, what could be improvised after doing this? So as of now, I'm going to solve all this, but in the later purpose, there might be something which could be a further improvement, right? So always mention as the last thing, further improvements on this existing, could be just add few bullet points. So these are the things that really outstands from a normal person who is actually writing documentation. So there are a few more like attributes that I would like to highlight, like stick to a technical subject. Do not waver around with a lot of topics where you completely get lost in it. Have a purpose, maintain an objective, convey always informations with facts and data. Now, if I'm telling, okay, to 2024, technical writing jobs are going to be increased by 20%, I'm not just going to tell it verbally. I'll prove it with the statistics, bring a graph, tell, okay, I've got the statistics from this particular data team and I've got it. Always come with facts and data. Stay very concise, to the point, maintain a direction. Keep your style and format consistency, because I see if headings are in a particular format, maintain it throughout the same, bullet points, all one. So you know the formatting part. And the content has to be archival. That is also another thing. If you're writing thesis and all, the archiving part, you must be aware of it. Properly cite the contributions. If someone else is also a part of these articles or documents, acknowledge them, thank them for they also being a part of it. Okay, there are a couple of other things like relevant, concise, accurate, well-structured, accessible, well-illustrated. These all are the points that you'll have to consider. Just to give you little examples of it. Relevant is like giving the user exactly the information they're looking for. So just provide the steps with pre and post requisites, something like that. Do not include explanation of the concept when I say relevant. Now, when I say concise, you can say that user refers the technical document as when they need information to achieve some result, like it being a completing a task or a making a decision. So it has to be concise. Note, add a note. Keeping it short, simple does not mean sacrificing the information, but keep it simple, accurate. Be very precise with the information. Unambiguous, incorrect information is not welcomed, because people might get misconceptions about what you're writing. Well structured, because sometimes people say they're going to talk about a topic, but in the beginning itself they say, you know what, I feel this technology is the best. On what basis are you concluding it? So before that, driving to a conclusion, start what was your analysis, what was your assumption first, your analysis, and give a justifiable reason as to why you concluded. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, but have that well structured. And accessible. It should be kind of accessible and located. Now, I've seen people writing on GitHub information in some files. Always remember, if it is GitHub, README is the face of your project. README is the only document people will really look into it. That is readme.md file. Add all your details in it, well structured. Who are the people contributing? Add some screenshots, which stack you have used, what are the tools that they need to run, if you want to contribute, where to go. So take it step by step and do it. I'll show you a couple of examples later. And well illustrated also. Just don't keep it very bland, only with text. Add some icons, add some tables, graphic elements, animations, GIF, screenshots. That actually kinds of adds some color also and makes it informative, and people don't lose track of what they're reading. So as I mentioned, that's what, tell me where you don't use document. Every day as a developer, we are using, whether it could be a business analyst or a developer or a program manager, tester, we have documents, but we are not aware that we have to follow some certain guidelines. We just randomly start, okay, this is the topic, bullet points, this is the one, tabular column, okay, this is what. But if you follow it in a proper structure, you are getting towards a technical writing field. And if that's what interests you, you can definitely pursue one. So documents, there are different type of technical document. That's impossible to list all of them. So it's kind of endless for me. So they're like user guide, release notes. Release notes also plays a very important role as a developer. Since we have right now, my audience, most of them are developers. I'm trying to pitch in only those details where it would be important to you. So you know that whenever you have an app or a web page or anything, you have release notes. Release notes is also another technical document. You follow a particular structure and you follow that structure throughout all your releases, right? So why do you do that? So that someone sees that, they know, okay, these are the bugs, this has got fixed, these are ongoing, this is what the version it gets affected, and the future versions it cannot be used, which device is compatible. So you follow some kind of structure, right? So release note is also one way of documenting things. API documentation. Whenever you're using APIs for your mobile app, you're building, or any web pages which are available free, you can see that the document, they clearly provide get, post, which is the query you have to use, what details you get, what are the parameters involved in it. So you can see all those details, right? That's how you will have to also maintain those kind of documents, because right now it might not sound interesting or important to you, but once you get into the real life of developer, get your hands dirty, documentation plays a very important role. Or it could be like blogs, forums, Q&A, websites, anything as such, or SDK documentation. It's a complete set of APIs that allows you to perform almost any action that you want to that you would need for creating application. User requirement document. So if you ask me what's that, it's like the technical document that specify what user expects from that the software will be able to do it. So if you ask me a few more, like the reference sheets, white paper, code document, configuration guides, troubleshooting guide, installation guides. So if I have say for example, I have Dev Eco Studio. When we give you the installation guides, if you look at the official website of Huawei, they give you the step-by-step, starting from which operating system you are, Mac, OS, or Windows. Based on that, it kind of navigates the structure, kinds of deviate, right? So everything is a document, and every document needs a technical writer to make it more descriptive. So you might ask me now, why should software developers try and learn technical writing? I think I've covered most of the aspects, but still I'll emphasize a few more things. Being a developer does not mean just work on the functionality. You will also have to play multiple roles going forward, whether it could be an open source contributor, or whether it could be a technical writer, or whether it could be a mentor. So it's just not that old school fashion of just a developer, finish your code, debug, fix the errors, bugs, and leave for the day. No. So why you need to do as a developer is that these days you directly or indirectly work with developers or work with clients, right? So their in-team communication first comes, because you'll have to communicate more easily with your teammates if you're collaborating with other software developers on a regular basis, right? So the importance of exchanging ideas, you're working on the same level goal, solving a problem, right? So there, the first thing comes. Coming to the out-group communication, that comes if you're specifically with those group of people who have limited technical knowledge, like clients. You can't talk to your clients at the same level, right? So it'll be an entirely different document. So what you share with your developers internally won't be the same with the external people, right? The development field, describing code, you will have to find a high level way of describing the challenges, right? And then problem solving internalizations, like developer problem solvers. So it's important to have many problem solving tools in your toolkit as possible, so that you are not stuck with presenting it. Rather you're more working on the functionality part and improving or conveying part. Guidelines and documentation, help guides, because every time you can't keep repeating the same thing, right? So if you have these help guides, documentation, it kind of eases your job. So it is very necessary as a developer to have all this, and you will in fact come across all this. Software design, career value. So trust me, once you have the skill set, you say, okay, I'm a developer and I've also involved myself in writing technical documentations or technical articles, and it definitely adds a lot of asset to your career. So software documentation in terms of GitHub, I'm going to focus more on the GitHub part, because you would be working with GitHub in and out. You're already working. So good documentation is a key to the success of any project, I would say. Because when I'm being assigned a project, I really don't know what's the in and out of the project. Only by looking at the document, I'm going to understand what is this project, what is the scope of this project, what do they really want from me by building on this project, what are the tools we are going to use, what are the technologies they want me to use. So that's why I say it's a key for success of any project. So making documentation accessible enables people to learn about a project, making it easy to update, ensure that document stays relevant. If you come to GitHub, there are two common ways of documenting a project. Either one is README files, another is Wiki. In a moment, I'll show you how it looks. So README files are a quick and a simple way of other users to learn more about your work, or it's the face of your project. Wiki is like a more in-depth information about your project in a useful way. So it's a good idea to at least have README in your project, right? Because that's the first thing people will see, read when they start working on your project. I've still seen projects where they have GitHub project, but README is completely blank with the standard template. Try to remove the standard template and add some customizations to it. So definitely, so as I mentioned, documentations in GitHub, Wiki Pages, add tables, images. How do you use the markup language to add all this? There are definitely tons of tutorials. Don't keep it very text plain based. Rather, I could use a PDF for it. I don't have to use GitHub. GitHub has something extra other than a text. You can add all these videos, table of content, images, links using markdowns. So please use them efficiently to make it more descriptive and kind of beautifying your GitHub. I'll show you a couple of examples of GitHub, how they look like. Then you have something called the style guide in technical writing. A style guide kind of defines the style. Everybody has a style, right? Whether it could be any other genre or any other category apart from development, you have a style of doing things, right? So similarly, technical writing also has a style that should be used in technical communication. I wouldn't say writing always. Technical, it's kind of a misconception. People take it like the moment I say technical writing, yeah, you're a writer. No, it's more about technical communication. That is what I would phrase it as. So like user manual, online help, or procedural writing. So a style guide helps you to write document in a very clearer way and keep it consistent and keep a consistent tone of voice and style, because you need to have a particular style when you're doing things, right? So these are a couple of things: standard of writing, concise, simplicity, precision, verb choice, active voice, terminologies, tools. So whenever you're saying like, say for example, people use this term, they were using this kind of a tool. Do not use that kind of words. They, who are they? We don't know that. So if you're trying to target a person or a particular group of people, there are few developers. So these kind of very nitty gritty factors that you will have to consider when you're writing things, because you cannot use this incorrect grammatical things there, because it sounds very rude when someone is reading actually. And in fact, there are so many style guides by Microsoft Manual of Style Guides, IBM Style Guide is there, Google Style Guide is there. I'll give you the link and I'll also show you how it looks like. So these guys, I mean, these guides are there, so you can follow them or see how they really write, how consistently they're following a structure. If they really want to emphasize a particular point, what do they really do with that sentence? Initially, we used to just add it in double quotes. No, in technical writing, since everything being digital, everything being in web, everything, they have a different way of emphasizing a particular statement if they really want to make it stand out in a page. So tools. So what are the tools available and how could I make my technical writing more easier? So definitely there are tons of it. You could use Notepad, you could use WordPress, you could use Microsoft suites actually are available. We have Acrobat to capture documents and allow user to view it in an original format and appearance. Then there's something called Snag, take screenshot tools. You want to take a screenshot. Photoshop is there, digital imaging, frame maker is there, kind of processes complex document frequently for technical writers. So frame maker is there. Word is there. Obviously, what's one of the kind of most commonly used best technical writing tool, I would say the latest version of Microsoft Word, where it saves your work in XPS or RTF or text format and many more. And even image editing tools like Photoshop, Framework, RoboHelp. I think RoboHelp is this industry standard authoring tools that kind of helps you for system for web-based applications or desktop. So definitely there are a lot of tools. If you're really into technical writing, you can check them. Okay, so I learned what is technical writing. I have learned what are the skills required, what are the style guides, tools, everything. But everybody makes mistakes, right? So if I know if these are the mistakes that I'm prone to making, I would better try to avoid them. So what are the mistakes that usually technical writer make and how can we avoid them? We'll just see a few of them, okay? So there are common pitfalls. Say, for example, messy structure. Many technical documents confuse readers, okay, and they fail to achieve their aim. As I told you, they kind of deviate from the topic and they end up talking about something else. Lack of planning actually leads to it. Punctuations, using full stop, question mark. That I know it's painless. It's painful actually, but if you do that, when a person is reading it, he will have a connect to the next paragraph, or else he'll just read that one paragraph and he'll say that, okay, you know what, this is kind of confusing to me. I don't know. Never use jargons, because you don't know. If I say OS means open source also, OS means operating system also. Now, what context are you referring? So it shouldn't leave your audience in confusion. So always try to avoid jargons. If you're using jargons, give an abbreviation of it, give a link so that people know what it is. Abstractions. Okay, sometimes people write it in a very formal or a semi-formal context, often go overboard in effort, okay? So if you have to take it a little outside the formal level, please do it. But again, get back to the same formal level if you're trying to get it outside it. So that kind of jump can be done only when you have too much of practice into writing. So do not use heavy nouns or very abstract part. So do not use pronouns like they, like it, who. You need to know whom are you talking about. Be very precise. If you're referencing developers, okay, you can tell developers, very general. So these are the few details that you need to avoid, or these are the common mistakes made. Okay, so these are the couple of links which I'll quickly open it. So I'll finish that slide and then I'll take you to the browser and I'll show you these good examples, which has amazing way of documenting things. And last thing, now as a technical writer, I'm doing so many things, but at the end, what am I really solving it? Bad product market. That is, if it means that the market does not want your product, it is crucial to achieve a product market fit. If I'm endorsing a product and if my document or the way I'm conveying a message is really not reaching them, then you're not serving the purpose. So 1/3 of the product turns out to be unprofitable, caused by many reasons: poor product, wrong high price, or wrong timing, or big competition. So as a technical writer, if you squeeze in and you try to talk about this product, there are chances that we can kind of overcome these flaws. So how good you are at what you do, sooner or later, you will come across an unhappy client. So how you could make the client happy is sometimes technical writing or these documents or these releases really help a lot. So disconnect between the business and IT happens. It's a very common issue at the IT field or at the company, and they don't see the IT department worth of a long-term investment. So these kind of places, really a technical architect or not an architect, sorry, technical communicator or a technical writer comes in handy to explain about the business plan and not focus on the IT innovation. And there are team members who are kind of completely demotivated. So these team members produce less and less work. So there also these kind of works kind of motivate them, and who are getting distracted by non-work activities. So these kind of documentations or these kind of things can really help them to contribute and do something for the business. So this is an Applib GitHub page. Now I was talking about Wiki Pages, right? So if you have a project and you want to make it very well structured, this is how you'll have to do it. So even wikis are used basically to have a very in-depth, detailed description of your project. So you can see that they start with the general topics and then they get into a technology. Then you have the development flow. So you can see that structure going through. I don't start up with FAQs first, even though FAQ is very important for me. So this is how a well-documented GitHub page or a wiki page is. Another one such example is like, say for Flutter, okay, the README page. I just want to show you the README page. So this is Flutter. You can take React, Android, anything, okay? You can see here the README page, right? So the moment I know there is this official Flutter site, I come here, I can see that, okay, it talks about it. It tells what Flutter is, few social media, the documentation. So first it's installing part, documentation, wiki, contributing to Flutter, and then terms and services, about Flutter, and then few screenshots. You see here the images. So by just looking at this, I'm able to see what it is, a GIF actually. So this person says, okay, I'm gonna add or the color or favorite. So you can see the moment he does that, he can immediately see there the icon changes to heart symbol from plus to heart, right? So I don't have to write a paragraph to explain this, right? A GIF works out here. So you should be good enough or smart enough to understand where to add a GIF, where to use a text, and a few other contributing guides and all that. Now moving on to the wiki page of the same. So it's more in depth. So they have almost 133 pages. So they have home, they've taken it like very step by step. They have like chat, code labs, and here they have the index also. So I'm going to give you these links. You can have a look into it. And another thing that I wanted to talk about was the style guide by Google team, where they have given you how a style guide should look like. Keep the conversations and friendly. Be conversational and friendly, write accessibly, write the global audience, write for a global audience. Don't target for a particular audience, okay, whoever is interested, punctuations, formatting, descriptions. So if you keep looking at it, you find all these details. Okay, so if you see here, this is one more such example of a README page. So it's a very simple document where they add these kind of markers here. The, what do you say this? The lines, the kind of dividers they add. They're talking, this has nothing to do with the topic that I'm doing. It's how you document things. So they say concept, task one, they give bullet points, they give icons here. Now instead of having this as an image, say I could have it as a text, say sign in or click on the try for free button. But this one gives me more relevant images. But also ensure that your documents are always up to date. Do not keep it old style. Maybe these colors would have changed. It would have got changed from button to hyperlink. Always keep it up to date. So screenshots like this, then coming to task 2. Okay, then even if there is someone stuck, they can tell, okay, you know what, I've completed task 1, but not able to proceed to task 2. Then we know, okay, till here they have completed. Only task 2 is something that they are kind of struggling. So attaching screenshots. So this is also another way of structuring your documents. And this is where the skills, the techniques, the tools, everything comes as a technical writer. Thank you guys. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.